At the family meeting, my dad called my career filthy and kicked me out of the house. He looked me dead in the eye and said it, "You're filthy." Right there in front of everyone. My father spat the words like they were true. He didn't flinch. Didn't care that every eye turned to me. Didn't care that my hands were trembling. "This career of yours," he said louder. "It's an embarrassment to this family." And just like that, after 29 years of swallowing my voice, of shrinking my dreams, to keep the peace, I exhaled. I stood up, pushed in my chair, looked him square in the eye. "You're right," I said. "I shouldn't be here." Then I walked out. No screaming, no drama, just silence. They never understood me. Not once. Since I was 12, I knew where I was headed. The day I coded my first app, something in me lit up. But to them, tech was noise. My father only respected doctors, lawyers, people with polished shoes and frame degrees. Not someone who wore hoodies and built software from scratch. Even when I sold my third company, even when one deal made me more than he earned in 2 decades, he just stared at me like the money was dirty like I was. Still, I kept showing up. Every birthday, every holiday, every fourth family dinner, trying until the day my sister got sick. Stage 4, liver aggressive. They didn't call me. I found out through a cousin's social post. When I showed up uninvited, my mother gave me that tight-lipped nod. My father didn't even look at me. But my sister, she smiled weakly but genuinely. She reached for my hand and I held it. We hadn't spoken in years, not because we hated each other, but because he always made sure I stayed on the outside. Still, I told her I'd help. She cried. I meant it. 6 weeks later, they called a family meeting. Same table, same cold silence. They laid it out like a pitch deck. Treatment overseas, private trials, charter flights, total cost, $100,000. And every head turned to me. Even the cousins, even the aunt. My dad leaned back and said, "You owe your sister this much." I didn't argue, I just said, "I'll think about it." That's when he snapped, called me filthy, said I was a mistake, that I disgraced the family, and that's when I left. But I didn't walk away. I went home and started digging because something didn't add up. The treatment plan they mentioned, it didn't cost $100K. It barely touched 40. So where was the rest going? I contacted the hospital, reached out to a friend in finance, even messaged the clinical trial coordinator, and that's when I saw it. The invoice sent to my father had an extra line. Consulting fee, $60,000, wired to a different account. That account belonged to my cousin, the one always broke, always borrowing, always in between jobs. They were using my sister's illness to scam me. That's when something in me shifted. Not rage, clarity. I called my sister privately, told her I'd pay for everything, every cent, but it would go directly through the hospital. No middleman, no family. She cried again and asked me why. I said, "Because you're the only one who never asked for anything, except my time." Then I called my cousin, told him I knew, told him the IRS would too, unless every dollar he'd stolen over the years was returned. I had receipts, every wire, every lie. I gave him 7 days. Then I sent one email. Subject: read the family meeting. I attached screenshots, the fake invoice, the shady messages between my cousin and my father. I hit send to everyone. No caption, just facts. By the time my father called, the wildfire had spread. Relatives were texting nonstop. Some shocked, some apologizing, some pretending they had no idea. I let him speak. Let him beg. It was a misunderstanding. He said, "You're blowing this out of proportion. We need you. Your sister needs you." I took a breath. "You're right." I said, "Anna needs me, and I'm already helping her, but you need money, and you called me filthy." I paused. "So go find your pride. Let it pay your bills." And I hung up. Now my sister's recovering. She texts me every day. We laugh about old movies. She's getting stronger. As for him, well, word got around. His friends, his church group, the investors he bragged to, they saw everything. Turns out nothing ruins. A man like being exposed. By the daughter he tried to silence. I never raised my voice. I never made a scene. I didn't have to. I let the truth speak. And I let silence make them at the family meeting. My dad called my career filthy. Then I found out why he looked me dead in the eye when he said it. You're filthy. Not whispered. Not muttered. He spat it. Sharp, deliberate. So everyone at the table could hear. It was like the words had been waiting years to escape his mouth, and now that they were out, he wanted to savor them. He didn't flinch. Didn't care that my hands were trembling under the table. Didn't care that the room had gone silent except for the faint clink of someone's fork hitting their plate. This career of yours, he said louder, scanning the room for approval, is an embarrassment to this family. For 29 years, I'd swallowed my voice to keep the peace. I'd made myself smaller so he could feel bigger. But in that moment, something in me finally exhaled. I stood up, pushed in my chair, looked him square in the eye. You're right, I said, my voice steady. I shouldn't be here. Then I walked out. No screaming. No slammed doors. Just the kind of silence that makes people uncomfortable. They'd never understood me. Not once. Since I was 12, I knew where I was headed. The day I coded my first app on an ancient family laptop, something in me lit up. But to them, tech wasn't a career. It was noise. My father respected doctors, lawyers, people with shiny degrees and expensive frames and polished shoes that clicked on marble floors. Not someone who wore hoodies and built software from scratch, even when I sold my third company. Even when one deal alone earned me more than he had made in 2 decades. He just looked at me like the money was dirty. Like I was dirty. Still, I kept showing up. Birthdays, holidays, family dinners every 4th Sunday, pretending we were closer than we were, until the day my sister got sick. Stage 4. Aggressive liver cancer. They didn't even call me. I found out through a cousin's Facebook post. A photo of her in a hospital bed, smiling weakly with the caption, "Fighter." I drove to the hospital uninvited. My mother gave me a tight-lipped nod, as if letting me in was a favor. My father didn't even look up. But my sister. She smiled, weak but real. She reached for my hand and I held it. We hadn't spoken in years, not because of any fight between us, but because he'd always made sure I stayed on the outside. Still, I promised her I'd help. She cried. I meant it. 6 weeks later, they called a family meeting. Same table. As always. Same cold silence. My father laid it out like a business pitch. Treatment overseas, private trials, charter flights. Total cost, $100,000. When he finished, every head turned to me. Even the cousins, even the aunts. You owe your sister this much, my dad said, leaning back in his chair like a judge delivering a sentence. I didn't argue. I just said, I'll think about it. That's when he snapped. You're filthy, a mistake, a disgrace to this family, and that's when I walked out. But I didn't walk away because something didn't add up. I'd done enough business deals to know when numbers smelled wrong. The treatment plan they described? It didn't cost $100,000. It barely touched $40,000. So where was the rest going? I started digging. I contacted the hospital, reached out to a friend in finance, even messaged the clinical trial coordinator. And that's when I saw it. The invoice sent to my father. One extra line at the bottom. Consulting fee. $60,000 wired to a completely different account. That account belonged to my cousin. The one always broke, always borrowing, always between jobs. They were using my sister's illness to scam me. Something in me shifted. Not rage, clarity. I called my sister privately. Told her I'd cover every cent of her treatment, but it would go directly to the hospital. No middleman, no family. She cried again and asked me why. Because you're the only one who's never asked me for anything except my time. Then, I called my cousin, told him I knew, told him the IRS would too, unless every dollar he'd siphoned off over the years was returned. I had receipts, every wire transfer, every lie. I gave him 7 days, then I wrote one email. Subject. Read. The family meeting. I attached screenshots. The fake invoice, the bank transfers, the messages between him and my father. No caption, no explanation, just facts. I hit send. Every family member received it. By the time my father called, the wildfire had spread. Relatives were texting nonstop. Some shocked, some apologizing, some pretending they had no idea. He started with excuses. It's a misunderstanding. Then threats, then desperation. You're blowing this out of proportion. We need you. Your sister needs you. I took a breath. You're right, I said. Anna needs me, and I'm already helping her, but you need money. And you called me filthy. I paused. So go find your pride. Let it pay your bills. And I hung up. Now my sister is recovering. She texts me every day. We laugh about old movies. She's getting stronger. As for him, word got around. His friends, his church group, the investors he bragged to. They saw everything. Turns out nothing ruins a man like being exposed by the daughter he tried to silence. I never raised my voice. I never made a scene. I didn't have to. I let the truth speak, and I let silence make them listen. Story, you. Need to move out, my mom announced mid-bite of the Christmas turkey. Really? I replied, keeping my voice calm. I pay the rent, the bills, and the groceries. The next morning, I packed and left without saying a word. Chapter 1. A Silent Christmas. The smell of cinnamon and roasted turkey hung in the air, but the warmth didn't reach my heart. Christmas had always been a complicated holiday in our family, full of strained smiles, unspoken resentments, and a growing list of things we didn't talk about. But this year, it would mark the last time. I sat at that table. It started as always, my mother at the head, smug in her seat of control, my younger sister Jasmine, glued to her phone, and my stepfather Michael, grunting through mouthfuls of food. I had cooked the turkey, bought the groceries, cleaned the apartment top to bottom, paid the rent, paid the internet bill so Jasmine could scroll TikTok, paid the electricity bill so Mom could watch her cooking shows and microwave her coffee 10 times a day. And still, I was the outsider. As I passed the stuffing across the table, my mother took a dainty bite of turkey and without looking at me said, "You need to move out. No warning, no buildup, just that." The fork in my hand paused in midair. I looked around the table. No one seemed surprised. Jasmine didn't even blink. Michael kept chewing. Only the words echoed, sharp, cold, and final. "Really?" I asked, my voice calm but tight. "I pay the rent, the bills, the groceries." My mother smiled tightly and dabbed her lips with a napkin. "Yes, but it's not about money. We just need space. This apartment doesn't feel like ours anymore with you always around. You're nearly 30, for God's sake." I clenched my jaw. Nearly 30. I was 26 and I'd moved back home only because Dad had died, unexpectedly 2 years ago, and Mom said she couldn't handle the house or her emotions alone. I stayed. I helped. I put my career on pause to take care of them. And now she was asking me to leave over Christmas dinner. I didn't argue, didn't scream. I just nodded once, pushed my chair back, and stood up. I understand. And then I kept eating. Silent. Calm. But inside, something had snapped. The next morning, I woke before dawn, packed my bags, folded my clothes quietly, took only what was mine, what I had bought, earned, or brought into the house. I left my keys on the kitchen counter beside a single note. You wanted space. Now you have it. No goodbyes, no guilt trip, no confrontation, just silence. I walked out of that house for the last time, and what they didn't know was I had a plan. One that would make them realize they didn't just lose a tenant. They lost everything that made their lives comfortable. Chapter 2. The Echo Left Behind. The first thing I did after walking out was turn off my phone. Not airplane mode, not not disturb, off. I didn't want to read the texts. I didn't care about the missed calls that might come later, if they even did. I knew my mother well. She didn't miss people. She missed what they did for her. I headed straight to a small one-bedroom apartment I had secretly signed a lease for 2 weeks ago. Deep down, I had a feeling something like this was coming. Her remarks had grown colder over time, more dismissive, like I was some ungrateful houseguest instead of the person holding the place together. The apartment was quiet, clean, mine, and for the first time in years, I felt something I hadn't felt in that house. Relief. The next morning, I logged into the shared utility portal and began untangling my name from their life. Electricity transferred, out, effective immediately. Internet disconnected, it was under my name. Streaming services logged out of every device. Auto pay on the rent canceled. Groceries. My card was removed from their delivery apps. Insurance gone. Within 48 hours, they would begin to feel the void I left behind. Not just emotionally, but practically. It wasn't revenge, it was fairness. If I wasn't welcome, neither was my wallet. On day 3, I got a text from Jasmine. Jasmine, the Wi-Fi is down. Did you forget to pay it? I stared at it for a moment, then set the phone down without replying. 30 minutes later. Mom, I just tried to pay the electric bill and it says the account is closed. Can you fix that? No greeting, no apology, no acknowledgement of what she'd said at Christmas dinner. And then another also, did you cancel the rent autopay? Michael's card got declined. I finally texted back. I moved out like you asked. All the bills are yours now. Good luck. That night, I cooked dinner in my small apartment. No passive-aggressive sighs from Mom, no TV blaring from 2 rooms over. No doors slamming, just music, peace, quiet. And that's when I realized I hadn't lost a home. I had escaped a prison with matching Christmas decorations. Chapter 3. Cold house, colder reality. By day 5, the cracks in their castle began to show. It was winter, and without the electric bill paid, the heat stopped working. My mother, who always kept the thermostat at a toasty 76 degree, was suddenly wrapped in 2 bathrobes and texting me again. Mom, the heating isn't working. You used to handle this stuff. Can you just call the company and explain? I didn't respond. That night, she sent another message. Mom, it's freezing in here. Michael is trying to figure out how to fix the fuse box, but he shocked himself. We need you to come by. Still no apology. No acknowledgement of what she did. I replied with a single sentence. I don't live there anymore. The next day, Jasmine posted on her Instagram story a screenshot of her phone with the caption, "When your internet disappears mid-life stream and your parents say, ask your brother to fix it." Lol, he ghosted. I smiled. The world was finally seeing what I had always seen behind closed doors. A house full of users, not a family. They didn't miss me. They missed the comfort I gave them. They had mistaken my kindness for obligation. On day 7, my stepfather, Michael, who never once said thank you while he lived off the groceries I bought, called me. I let it ring. Then I got this text. Michael, your mom is upset. She thinks you hate her. Maybe just help out with a few things until we get back on our feet. Back on your feet? You kicked out the person who was your feet? I didn't reply. But things didn't stop there. I had been paying for the house's renter's insurance all this time, a small monthly fee they never knew I had covered. I let it lapse. Days later, Jasmine, who had spilled candle wax on the carpet while recording a makeup tutorial, started panicking because the landlord demanded a cleaning fee. Jasmine, why didn't you keep the insurance? Now we have to pay $300 to replace a rug. I didn't answer. Instead, I updated the emergency contact on my work forms, removed their address from all my documents, and replaced them with a P-box. I wasn't cutting ties out of bitterness. I was protecting my peace. By the end of the 2nd week, my mom finally cracked. A long message landed on my phone. Mom, I didn't mean to say it like that on Christmas. I was just tired and we've all been on edge. It's been a lot without your father. Maybe we could have handled it differently. Can we talk? For a second, I considered it. Then I thought back to that dinner table. The way she said, "You need to move out," like she was ordering mashed potatoes. And I thought about all the days I went to work, came home, cooked, paid, cleaned, while being treated like an intruder in my own home. So I sent this me. Mom, I Didn't leave because you were tired. I left because I was tired of being useful but unwanted. Tired of being treated like a guest while paying like a provider. Tired of pretending things were okay when they weren't. You wanted space. I gave it to you. Now you have to learn how to live in it. Chapter 4. The Ghost of Next Christmas. 12 months passed. I never visited, never called. Birthdays came and went. So did Mother's Day, Jasmine's graduation, and Thanksgiving. I sent no cards, no texts, no money. My silence became my clearest statement. Meanwhile, I thrived. My new apartment had turned into a home, minimalist, warm, and completely mine. I had been promoted at work, got myself a used car I didn't have to ask permission to borrow. I even took a solo vacation, something I never could have done when half my paycheck went toward a house that never felt like it welcomed me. I had peace, and I wasn't giving that up for anything, not even nostalgia. But as December rolled in, an unexpected letter showed up at my new P.O. box. The handwriting was unmistakably Mom's. Inside was a Christmas card, plain generic. Wishing you love and warmth this season. On the back in her handwriting, maybe come by, even just for dinner. It hasn't felt the same without you. I held the card for a long time, not out of sentimentality, but to let the silence in it speak louder than the words. She didn't apologize. She didn't acknowledge what she did last year. She just wanted to sweep it under the rug. Pretend like I was some moody son who finally came to his senses and missed home. But I didn't miss home because home had never been that place. Christmas Eve came. I stayed in, made myself a steak, poured a glass of wine, and watched snow fall. Out my window. At exactly 7:12 p.m., Jasmine posted a story on Instagram. A shaky photo of a quiet dinner table. No turkey, no laughter, no lights, just microwave food on mismatched plates. Her caption, worst Christmas ever. No internet, no heat, no help, no him. That last part caught me off guard. No him. Had she finally realized? Had they all? The next morning, I received one final message from my mother. Mom, you don't have to forgive me, but I understand now. I thought I was kicking out a burden. Turns out I was pushing away the one person holding us together. If you ever want to come home, the door is open. But this time, I know it's your choice, not mine. I didn't respond, not out of hate, but because some doors once closed are best left shut. They don't deserve your return just because they finally feel your absence. Sometimes your absence is the message,